Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodarandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana 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 Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Narasimhadev Bhagavan ki jai, Sisi Gaurnitaya ki jai, Sisi Radha Vrindavan Chandra ki jai, Sisi Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Sorry? Will I give a brief introduction? No, it's not necessary. Not everyone. Of course, they are very well famous for this. Okay, 30 seconds.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We are extremely fortunate and very happy to have with us His Grace Vaiyasaki Prabhu. Prabhuji has given me just 30 seconds for introduction. So what can we say? Actually, Prabhuji is very well known, and many of us, especially myself, I have heard a lot of his kirtans, especially in the beginning days, and these are soul-touching kirtans. So, in ISKCON, he is known as one of the best kirtaniyas, and he travels worldwide, spreading the holy name through the kirtans and preaching. And further, he written this book, Radha Damodar Vilas, which some of us might have read. It's just a fantastic book, which takes us back in that era, when in the era of early 1970s. Before that only, actually 1966 it starts. So it practically takes us there, and Prabhuji interviewed almost 500 Prabhupada disciples and other devotees who were there at that time to write that book. It's a masterpiece book which just reveals how the dynamics was that time, how was the great enthusiasm of devotees to do kirtan and do book distribution preaching at that time. So Prabhuji, although being born in London, he was brought up in Canada further, and later on in 1970 came back to London, and that is where he met the devotees. And 1973 he joined ISKCON. Later he was initiated by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. In 1975 he came to India for the inauguration of Krishna Balram Temple at Vrindavan, and then he continued to stay there for a long time. Then he came to Mumbai. Later Srila Prabhupada told him to go to Mayapur, and from there Mayapur he went to Bangladesh for preaching, and he established the first center in Bangladesh in Dhaka under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada and all of the devotees. And Bangladesh, when he was traveling once, so he writes here, he learned that local Bengali tunes, that kind of, that's why you can see the speciality. The first line goes up high, and the second one becomes sweet at a different tune. It just melts the heart. So he learned it in Bengal, the Bengali, that local ragas and the kirtans, very, very special tunes which have been sung by our previous acharyas also there. So he imbibed that, and thus his kirtans are a very great blend of the ancient Bengali kirtan as well as the modern contemporary music, because before joining ISKCON he was a rock and blue singer also. He was playing guitar and singing, and then he went to Bengal, so it became East really met the West, and then the kirtan became a combination of both. So he conducts workshops, he does concerts, he leads yoga festivals, retreats worldwide. He shares his heart through the music, chanting as the basis of life. So devotees become so enthused in his association we saw yesterday and today. Now Prabhuji is here for 10 days giving the association to us, and we would like to welcome him to Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Chandra Temple by loudly chanting 3 times. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for accepting the invitation. And we also have our Grace Kishori Mataji, his good wife, and daughter Krishna Kumari Mataji. I don't know if they are here around. Yeah, they are there. And they have brought a very special book on Lord Narasimha Dev, which we'll display at the end of the class toward the book stall side. It's a very, very special book. Please have a look at it, and you can have a copy. It's a masterpiece collection of Lord Narasimha Dev's pictures from places which you may not have heard. One is there in right there in Pune. We never heard of it. We saw the picture in the book actually. So it has been well researched. It has been written by Mataji's brother Dhruva Prabhu. So please have a look at the book also. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So today we will continue our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, and this week we will focus on the 7th canto, chapter 8, which deals with the appearance of Sri Narasimha Dev to protect his devotees and kill the demons. So at the beginning of chapter 8, Prabhupada has a little introduction of this chapter. So I will read this, then we'll go to the first shloka. As described in this chapter, Hiranyakashipu was ready to kill his own son, Prahlad Maharaj. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared in front of the demon as Sri Nrikeshari, half lion and half man, and killed him. Following the instructions of Prahlad Maharaj, all the sons of the demons became attached to Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When this attachment became pronounced, their teachers, Sunda and Amarka, were very much afraid that the boys would become more and more devoted to the Lord. In a helpless condition, they approached Hiranyakashipu and described in detail the effect of Prahlad's preaching. After hearing of this, Hiranyakashipu decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was so angry that Prahlad Maharaj fell down at his feet and said many things just to pacify him, but he was unsuccessful in satisfying his demoniac father. Hiranyakashipu, as a typical demon, began to advertise himself as being greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Prahlad Maharaj challenged him, saying that Hiranyakashipu was not God, and began to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, declaring that the Lord is all-pervading, that everything is under him, and that no one is equal to or greater than him. Thus, he requested his father to be submissive to the omnipresent Supreme Lord. The more Prahlad Maharaj glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the more angry and agitated the demon became. Hiranyakashipu asked his Vaishnava son whether his God existed within the columns of the palace, and Prahlad Maharaj immediately accepted that since the Lord is present everywhere, he was also present within the columns. When Hiranyakashipu heard this philosophy from his young son, he derided the boy's statement as just the talk of a child and forcefully struck the pillar with his fist. As soon as Hiranyakashipu struck the column, there issued forth a tumultuous sound. At first, Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, could not see anything but the pillar. But to substantiate Prahlad's statements, the Lord came out of the pillar in his wonderful incarnation as Narasimha, half lion and half man. Hiranyakashipu could immediately understand that the extraordinarily wonderful form of the Lord was surely meant for his death, and thus he prepared to fight with the form of half lion and half man. The Lord performed his pastimes by fighting with the demon for some time, and in the evening, on the border between day and night, the Lord captured the demon, threw him on his lap, and killed him by piercing his abdomen with his nails. The Lord not only killed Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, but also killed many of his followers. When there was no one else to fight, the Lord, roaring with anger, sat down on Hiranyakashipu's throne. The entire universe was thus relieved of the rule of Hiranyakashipu, and everyone was jubilant in transcendental bliss. Then all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma approached the Lord. These included the great saintly persons, the Pitas, the Siddhyas, the Vidyadharas, the Nagas, the Manus, the Prajapatis, the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Yakshas, the Kimpurushas, the Vaitalikas, the Kinnaras, everybody, and also many other varieties of beings in human form. All of them stood not far from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and began offering their prayers unto the Lord, whose spiritual effulgence was brilliant as he sat on the throne. So that's the introduction to this chapter. So now we will do the first shloka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayo Udvirayet Nashtapraye Svabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike Om Jnanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Sri Gurun Dinatarinam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Narada Uvacha Atha Daitya Sutta Sarve Shutva Tad Anuvarnitam Jagrihur Niravajatvan Naiva Guru Nashikshitam Shri Narada Uvacha Atha Daitya Sutta Sarve Shutva Tadanuvarnitam Jagrihur Niravajatvan Naiva Guru Anushikshitam Sri Narada Uvacha Atha Daitya Sutta Sarve Shutva Tad Anuvarnitam Jagrihur Niravajatvan Naiva Guru Agnusikshitam. Vaishnavis? Sri Narada Uvacha. Sri Narada Muni said, Atha, thereupon, Daityasutta, the sons of the demons, the class friends of Prahlad Maharaj, Sarve, all, Shrutva, hearing, Tat, by him, Prahlad, Anuvaranitam, the statements about devotional life, Jagrihu, accepted, Niravajyatvat, due to the supreme utility of that instruction, Na, not, Eva, indeed, Guru Anushikshitam, that which was taught by their teachers. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is the effect, translation. Narada Muni continued, all the sons of the demons appreciated the transcendental instructions of Prahlad Maharaj and took them very seriously. They rejected the materialistic instructions given by their teachers, Sanda and Amarka. Srila Prabhupada's purport. This is the effect of the preaching of a pure devotee like Prahlad Maharaj. If a devotee is qualified, sincere, and serious about Krishna consciousness, and if he follows the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master, as Prahlad Maharaj did when preaching the instructions he had received from Narada Muni, then the preaching is effective. As it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. Satam prasangam amavirya samvida bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kata. If one tries to understand the discourses given by the sat, or pure devotees, those instructions will be very pleasing to the ear and appealing to the heart. Thus, if one is inspired to take to Krishna consciousness, and if one practices the process in his life, he is surely successful in returning home, back to Godhead. By the grace of Prahlad Maharaj, all his class friends, the sons of the demons, became Vaishnavas. They did not like hearing from their so-called teachers, Sanda and Amarka, who were interested only in teaching them about diplomacy, politics, economic development, and similar topics meant exclusively for sense gratification. So here, in this first shloka, we see the reason why Hiranyakashipu wanted to kill his son. Because Prahlad Maharaj was not sharing the instructions of his demoniac father. He was not preaching the instructions of the teachers, Sanda and Amarka, but he was giving the instructions that he received from his own guru, Narada Muni. Narada Muni imparted these divine instructions of the Bhakti Sutras into the heart of Prahlad Maharaj, and Prahlad Maharaj accepted and treasured this teaching, these instructions, this Bhakti Tattva, and shared it with his classmates. And he shared it in such a loving way for the benefit of his class fellows who were hearing, with full humility and compassion, so that all the other classmates were immediately charmed, and they heard with sincerity the instructions given by Prahlad Maharaj, which he had received in parampara from his pure devotee guru, Sri Narada Muni. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes some very good points. That we can all return back home, back to Godhead, but some qualification must be there. Just as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Yeyata mam prapadyante tamstataiva bhajam yaham. As you approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. So let's look at different ways of approaching the Lord. Hiranyakashipu approached the Lord, as a demon to try and harm him and kill him. And the Lord reciprocated accordingly. He killed the demon. Lord Nrsingadev. Yayatamam prapadyate tam sataiva bhajam yaham. Prahlad Maharaj, he approached the Lord by preaching his glories. And the Lord reciprocated by protecting Prahlad as Narasimha Bhagavan. So Narasimha Bhagavan is a very unique form of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu has many avatars coming, and they all have their purpose for coming. But the one purpose of Lord Nrsingadev, his only purpose, his only reason for coming, is to protect the devotees from the demons. And in order to do that, he had to go through a great difficulty, because Hiranyakashipu had received boons from Lord Brahma, that he could not be killed during the day, he could not be killed during the night, could not be killed by a human, could not be killed by an animal, could not be killed on the land, could not be killed in the air, could not be killed inside, could not be killed outside. So many qualifications Hiranyakashipu made for Lord Brahma, and he performed so much tapasya that Lord Brahma granted all these benedictions. So Lord Nrsingadev not only came to protect his devotees, but he had to somehow or other arrange to come in such a form to not disallow the boons of Lord Brahma, but to fulfill the boons of Lord Brahma and still kill the demon. Because Hiranyakashipu was thinking, with all these boons, then no one can kill me, because I've covered every possible situation. Because originally Lord Brahma asked for immortality, and Lord Brahma said, well, even I am not immortal. I lived for 311 solar years, but then also my life comes to an end. So I can't give you that. I can't give you what I myself don't have. But what else? So then Hiranyakashipu outlined all these different things. So Lord Nrsingadev had to come and kill the demon Hiranyakashipu, not during the day and not during the night, but just as the day was changing into the night, the Sandhya. It wasn't yet night, and the day was just about finished. It wasn't inside or outside, but was in the doorway of Hiranyakashipu's palace. It wasn't on the land, it wasn't in the air, it wasn't in the sea. It was on the lap of the Lord. It wasn't by any weapons conceived by man, but with the fingernails. Not by man or human, or not by animal, but by half man, half lion. So in this way, Lord Nrsingadev, he went to so much well, we may say to so much difficulty to try and arrange to kill the demon without disobeying the boons given by Brahma. But of course, for the Lord, it's very simple. Everything is very simple. What we think to be very complicated, for Krishna is very simple. So the truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Absolute Truth is always simple. It's the Maya that's complicated. It's the demon's philosophy that's complicated. It's the sense gratification culture that is complicated. But the truth is always simple. The devotional service to the Lord is always simple, honest, and straightforward. So Lord Nrsingadev came only to protect his devotee. And once he had protected his devotees by killing the demons who were trying to harm the devotees, then he retired. I've come, I've fulfilled my duty to protect the devotees. Now my Leela is done. However, I will remain in the hearts of my devotees, and I will protect them forever and ever from all kinds of calamities. So in this way, Lord Nrsingadev, his only Leela is to protect the Vaishnavas, protect the devotees. And just as Lord Krishna says, Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajam yaham, as they approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. So here we see in the avatar of Nrsingadev how the Lord reciprocates accordingly. But also something very more important that we should understand. Because in every other Leela of Vishnu avatar, we see that the Vaishnavas, the devotees, are always serving the Lord. But in this case, the Lord is serving the devotee. The Lord comes to protect the devotees. And this was also exemplified by Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna became the rickshawala of Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Because a chariot is just a glorified rickshaw. That's all it is. So the Lord takes the most humble position in regards to his devotees. And he's so happy to become the servant of the devotees. Lord Krishna became the servant of the Pandavas, and that's how great the Pandavas were. Narada Muni, at one time, was wanting to find who was the most exalted Vaishnava. And he went everywhere to so many different persons, and they all said, no, I'm not the most exalted. You have to go somewhere else. Finally, he came to Prahlad Maharaj. Everyone said, Prahlad Maharaj is the most exalted devotee. So he came to Prahlad Maharaj. Oh, you are the most exalted Vaishnava. And Prahlad Maharaj said, well, actually, even more exalted than me is Hanumanji. So Narada Muni went to Hanumanji. He said, you are the most wonderful, glorified Vaishnava. I offer all respects unto you. Hanumanji said, no, no, no. Although I've given my life to serving the Lord with my every breath and my every gram of strength and energy, still much greater devotees are the Pandavas, because they don't have to serve the Lord. The Lord serves them. He becomes their rickshawala and helps them fight and win the battle. So the same way, Lord Nrsingadev, like Lord Krishna in Kurukshetra, he becomes the servant of the devotees by protecting them. You all have a bodyguard. Every one of us has a bodyguard. The strongest bodyguard in existence, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsingadev. And he will protect us. But there are certain qualifications, and this is what I mentioned in the beginning. And Srila Prabhupada discusses these qualifications in the purport. So let's look at the purport once again and see if we qualify to get the mercy and the full protection of Lord Narasingha. Because that's what we want. We want to be protected. Because it's dangerous to go out and preach in some countries. You cannot go to Iraq or Iran or Saudi Arabia and preach Krishna consciousness. It's very dangerous. Even in Bangladesh, where I preached for many years, they're attacking the Vaishnavas. It's not like Pune, where everybody loves you. So there are some difficulties in preaching in other places. So Prabhupada gives the understanding how to become qualified. First, that one has to understand the teachings given by the Satguru, the pure devotee, coming in parampara, and that these teachings are very pleasing and satisfying. Not that I'm thinking these teachings are some tapasya. Just like, for example, I'll give you a very good example. Ekadasi is meant that we do nirjala. It's a one day, twice in a month, that you do not eat or drink. But in Kali Yuga, that became too much difficult for the devotees. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he made a concession. Okay, if you go out and preach, then you can take prasad, but no rice, no dal, no chapati, just simple fruits and vegetables. So that became a concession that now we can eat a little bit on Ekadasi, even though all the Shastras say that Ekadasi means nirjala. Then Prabhupada, because he came to the Malecha Desh, and everyone there, you can't eat on one day? So he said, okay, instead of Ekadasi fast, we'll have Ekadasi feast. But no grains, no rice, no dal, no chapati, just fruit, milk products, and vegetables. So it became known as the Ekadasi feast. And in this way, he would attract people to become Vaishnavas. He attracted them by the tongue and the belly. The prasadam in those days were so good because Srila Prabhupada himself personally taught the devotees how to cook, how to make this preparation, how to make that preparation. So the prasadam was out of this world. Everyone would come to the temple and take the prasad and they would become devotees very quickly. We used to go out before I came to India in 1975. Before that, I was, going out doing Sankirtan. And we had a mantra card. So chant this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and your life will become sublime. On one side. On the other side was the address of our temple. And then we would tell people, we would give them a book and say, look, I'm going to give you a special invitation. You take this card, and here's our address. This Sunday, we're having a special feast. There'll be over 12 different preparations. And normally for such a feast, we charge a huge sum of money. But you take this card and you come to our temple on Sunday, you show this card, they will not charge you. So this is what Prabhupada called transcendental trickery. It's free anyway, but you make them think they're getting a special deal because everybody wants to get the best deal, especially in India. Everybody wants the best deal. You tell them the price, they say, after discount, what is the price? No, this is already discount price. No, but give me special discount price. Okay, I give you student price. Anyway, so like this, and then people would come and taste that prasad, and they had never tasted anything like that. So in this way, we use transcendental trickery to attract the heart and mind and tongue and belly of the people, so they became devotees. Because we had so much we were so much inspired by the teachings Prabhupada gave us. So when one is inspired, like in any particular way, to take to Krishna consciousness, and if one practices the bhakti yoga process, then he is surely successful in returning back home, back to Godhead. So we are very fortunate because we are surely going to be successful in going back home, back to Godhead, because we are all here today. We have all taken up the process of Krishna consciousness. However, Prabhupada also says that you have to be sincere and serious. And you have to follow the instructions exactly as given by the spiritual master. Then our preaching will be effective and Krishna will be pleased with us. And Krishna will be pleased by us, pleased with us in his Narasingha Rupa, in this form of Narasingha, that he'll protect us. So I've been involved in spiritual life. I first got involved, developed an interest in spiritual life, first heard the Mahamantra, and first tasted Prasadam in 1968. So in these last 54 years, I've continued tasting prasadam and hearing the Mahamantra, and also sharing the Mahamantra, and also cooking prasad and offering to my deities and sharing with others. So if we continue this process, then we're guaranteed to go back home, back to Godhead. And in a class in 1975, early in 1975 in Los Angeles, just before I came to India, Prabhupada was giving a class, and he gave a wonderful class about service and about following the instructions as given in his books. And then he concluded the class by saying, so, if you follow all the instructions I have given you, and then he listed them off, like the chanting of the japa, the kirtan, attending the artis, eating only prasadam, going out and preaching, all these things. If you follow the instructions I have given you, I guarantee that at the end of this life, you go back home, back to Godhead. That's what Prabhupada said. So in the Brahmachari ashram, we were all very excited. Wow, Prabhupada gave a guarantee. This is it. We're going back home, back to Godhead in this life. Oh, it's going to be so easy, a piece of cake. However, to continue the sadhana your whole life is not so easy. It's easy the first 2 or 3 years. And then the first test is at 10 years. Can you make it to 10 years? And the second test is, can you make it to 20 years? So we see that many devotees cannot pass these tests. They drop away. It's not so easy. So that was the first thing that we were thinking. Oh, this is so easy. Although it's not easy unless you're tasting the nectar of the holy name without any offenses. So then one devotee in the ashram said, what happens if I'm only 90% pure? I still have 10% material desires. We all looked at each other. We didn't know the answer. And then someone else said, but I thought Krishna was the one who gave us liberation, gave the guarantee. How can Prabhupada give the guarantee? We looked at each other. Nobody knew the answer. We had questions, but no answers. And then that evening, the sannyasi, Hridayananda, he spoke at Bhagavad Gita, and he said, so in this morning's class, Prabhupada gave us a guarantee. So now we must be very careful, very vigilant, not to void the warranty. Means if you're not following the regulative principles, or if you're committing some aparadh, then you void the warranty. Prabhupada gave the guarantee, but you have to be serious and sincere and dedicated and not have any ulterior motive or hidden agenda, which Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita. Four types of people come to his movement. Only 25% come for the absolute truth. Other people come because they're in need of money. Other people come because they're suffering. And let me join ISKCON. I get a place to sleep for free. I get 3 meals a day. I don't have to pay any money. It's all for free. Wow, good. So people come for ulterior motives. But only one who comes in search of the absolute truth is guaranteed to go back home, back to Godhead. So in that Gita class, we were warned not to void the warranty. So let us all follow the instructions as given by Srila Prabhupada to the best of our ability. Because Krishna deserves our best. We should not give Krishna our second best or our third best. We should give him our very best because he's deserving of that. Because he's eternally our best friend. He's in our heart. He's in our heart as Paramatma. And now he's in our heart as Narasingha Bhagavan, protecting us. And as long as we're sincere and dedicated like Prahlad Maharaj, then we'll be protected always by Lord Narasimhadev. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to come to the same level as Prahlad Maharaj. That's not possible. We cannot come to the same level of Srila Prabhupada. That's not possible. But what is possible, I can do my very best. Prabhupada's best and my best is different. But if I do my best and Prabhupada does his best, Krishna will see us with equal vision. And this was exemplified. Of course, that shloka is in the Bhagavad Gita, but especially in Ramayana, this is exemplified when Hanumanji was building that bridge to Lanka with the huge boulders weighing tons, and he would put the name of Ram, Sri Ram, and they would float on the water. So nearby there was a tree, and in that tree was a little Gileri, and he was watching Lord Ram, and he was thinking, how wonderful. Lord Ram is here and he's being served by Hanumanji. How wonderful is that service of Hanumanji? And then the Gileri became inspired by the seva of Hanumanji. And he thought, let me also do something that I can do for Lord Ram. He came down from the tree, went to the water's edge, and he's just a little Gileri. So he's just putting in a few stones, but he's doing his best. So then Hanuman's coming with a big boulder. Oh, Gileri, get out of the way. I'm doing big seva here. I don't want to step on you. Move, please, go away. And then Ram chastised him. No, Hanuman. You are doing your best. He is doing his best. Therefore, you're equal in my eyes. Lord Ram saw the Gileri in the same equal vision as Hanumanji. So similarly, Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Krishna will see us with the same equal vision as he sees Srila Prabhupada when we do our best sincerely. So that's all we have to do. Ye yatamam prapadyante, as we approach the Lord sincerely, tam sataiva bhajam yaham, he will reciprocate accordingly. So here we see in this 8th chapter of the 7th canto, Prahlad Maharaj is approaching the Lord sincerely. He's preaching, and the Lord is going to arrange to protect him and to nullify all the boons that Hiranyakashipu had arranged to protect himself so that he would become immortal, and he was defeated by the Lord. Hare Krishna. Shri Narasingha Bhagavan ki. Are there any questions? Microphone.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for your association. Very beautiful class. Prabhuji, we wanted to know, you shared that initially it is easy to take that idea that now I'll just practice and go back to Godhead. But it is difficult to continue unless one is tasting the nectar without offenses. So, can you please share what in the long run becomes the obstacle to continue? Because we see when Prabhupada started the journey of preaching Krishna, there's a lot of, like a wave he created for everyone to just come in and flow with. So, what actually comes as an obstacle which doesn't allow the person to experience the same ecstasy that he's doing, and what can keep us going on against it?
Okay. Everyone understand the question? Good question, yes? You all want to know the answer? There's only one thing that is an obstacle. Only one thing. And that is your mind. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, your mind is either your best friend or your worst enemy. Your mind is your worst enemy if your mind is interested in Indriya Tripti. Just like we have so many students, they graduate from high school and they want to study university. They want to go and take the course IT. And why they want to take IT? Because IT stands for Indriya Tripti. By studying IT, you get the most money, and that money is for Indriya Tripti. So that's the mind that's interested in Indriya Tripti. But the mind that is interested in Krishna Seva is your best friend. So Krishna says to Arjuna, you control your mind. So Arjuna says, Krishna, it's okay for you to say control your mind. But I will tell you honestly that for me, it's easier for me to control the wind than it is to control my mind. That was Arjuna. That was what he said. How many people agree with Arjuna? It's easier to control the wind than it is to control the mind. We don't agree with Arjuna. Why don't we agree? Because Krishna did not agree. He said, undoubtedly, controlling the mind is not easy, but it can be done. And then he explains how it can be done. By detachment and suitable practice. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, shloka number 35. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains in great detail what is the suitable practice and how to become detached from Indriya Tripti. So if you read that purport, you will certainly become free from the obstacle of the mind. Because unless your mind becomes a devotee, it will be difficult for your heart to become a devotee. Because the mind will override the heart. So we have to use our intelligence to override the mind. The intelligence means studying Prabhupada's books. It means following his instructions, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, without offenses. Then it becomes very easy, because when our mind becomes a Vaishnava, then very easy. Our mind is now our best friend. I maybe want Indriya Tripti, but my mind won't think of Indriya Tripti. My mind will only think of Krishna Seva. So he's my best friend. So we have to make the mind a Vaishnava. Don't start thinking, I will make this person a Vaishnava, I'll make that person a Vaishnava. First, make your mind a Vaishnava. Then you solve all your problems. So I'll briefly explain what is the suitable practice. and how to gain detachment from material life. But you read the purport, Prabhupada goes into it great detail. So how become detached from material indriya tripti is to become attached to spiritual life, attached to prasadam, attached to Krishna, attached to sadhu sangha, attached to Krishna Leela, attached to Krishna Shiksha, attached to Krishna Guna, attached to Krishna Nam, attached to everything that has to do with Krishna. And then the mind becomes a Vaishnava and we lose the attachment for Indriya Tripti from the material world. Because now our senses are fully satisfied from everything in the spiritual world. So we give our senses spiritual sense objects. Spiritual sense object for the eyes, spiritual sense object for the tongue, spiritual sense objects for the ears, spiritual sense object for all the indriyas. Then the indriyas become purified and the Vaishnava, the mind becomes a Vaishnava and very satisfied. So that's how we develop detachment from material indriya tripti, by becoming attached to the spiritual objects. And then the suitable practice. The suitable practice, Prabhupada explains in great detail, is Shravanam. In that whole purport, Prabhupada does not mention even once Kirtanam. It's only Shravanam. And let's think about this and analyze this. Why is Shravanam more important than Kirtanam? Okay? Because I'm thinking that many of you believe that Kirtanam is more important, but not according to Shastra, not according to Prabhupada. So whatever our wrong idea is, we have to get the right idea. So why Shravanam is more important? So let me share with you, and I will do this by asking you a question so that you come up with the right answer. Because if I give you the answer, you'll forget it. But if you come up with your own answer, you'll remember it. Okay? So here's my question. If the Shravanam is bad, will the Kirtanam be good? No. If the Shravanam is good, then the Kirtanam will be good? This is a fact. This means that the Kirtanam is dependent on the Shravanam. Bad Shravanam means bad Kirtanam. And you can test it yourself. You can record your japa. And sometimes you'll be shocked at what's coming out because you're not hearing, because your mind is wandering. So Shravanam is the prerequisite for Kirtanam. That's why Shravanam is the most important. So when we have really good Shravanam, then we have first class really good Kirtanam, and then we have first class really good Smaranam. Because if the Shravanam is bad, there is no Smaranam. Because unless you hear and it goes into the heart, then what you will remember? If it goes in this ear and out this ear, how you can remember? Only when it goes into the heart, then we can remember. Clear? So when the Shravanam is good, the Kirtanam is good, and the Smaranam is good. And then all the seva becomes good. Clear? So we solve the problem of the mind, and we solve all our problems. And how do we, here's another tip, advice I'll give, how to solve the problem of the mind. And that is, we have to chant without offenses. So there's 10 offenses. Out of those 10, 2 are the most dangerous. And that is the first offense to the holy name and the last offense, the 10th offense. The first offense is sadhu ninda, to find fault with the devotees who have dedicated their lives to chanting the holy names of the Lord. If I find fault, I criticize, sadhu ninda, then I get no benefit from the hearing and the chanting. So I have to stop finding the faults in other people, and I have to teach myself how to see only the good qualities in other people. Right now, I'm finding the faults in other people, and I'm seeing the good in me. We have to change that. Find the good in other people and find the faults in myself and correct my faults. So that's how you have to turn the first aparad into a benediction. That not that you find fault with other devotees, but you always glorify the devotees who have dedicated their lives to the holy name. So it's not sadhu ninda, it's sadhu mahima, the glorification. So that's the first offense. We change it into a benediction, the first benediction. Now the 10th offense is to be inattentive while chanting and to maintain material attachments, even after hearing so many instructions on this matter. Why are we maintaining material attachments? Because we're inattentive while chanting. Inattentive means there's no Shravanam going on. Therefore, there's no Kirtanam. We said if the Shravanam is bad, the Kirtanam is bad. So the Kirtanam is, you're not hearing it, it's not going into the heart, so the heart's not becoming purified. You can go on chanting japa for 1,000,000 years, but if you're not hearing it, you get no benefit because the heart doesn't become purified. Because the mantra doesn't go into the heart. And also, inattentive chanting is an aparad. How can someone become purified by aparad? Does that make sense? It's illogical. If you can become purified by aparad, we'd all be pure devotees. So we have to stop that inattentive chanting. And because we're inattentive chanting, that's why we're maintaining our material attachments, because the purification is not taking place in the heart because I'm not hearing. So we have to change that 10th aparad in make it a 10th benediction. That I'm always focused on hearing the holy name of the Lord. And I'm only attached to the spiritual objects of the Lord and of the Vaishnavas, of the Shastra, of the Guru, like that. Clear? So this is how we learn to control the mind and solve the problem. And in this way we go back home, back to Godhead, guaranteed. Prabhupada gave the guarantee. So I'll just make one last point and then we'll be finished. I already went over, please forgive me. The question was raised when Prabhupada spoke like that in the Brahmachari ashram. How can Prabhupada give the guarantee? The guarantee should come from Krishna. So we didn't know the answer then. But then after years of thinking about it, Krishna gave me the answer. Because Krishna fulfills all desires. So if you want to know something, you let Krishna know, this is my desire, I want to know this. And then he fulfills your desire. So if you have any doubts, just let Krishna know, I want to slay this doubt. I want to understand the truth behind it. This is my desire. Krishna will supply and fulfill your desire. So Krishna gave me the understanding. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita to Krishna, go Arjuna and preach it boldly. My devotee shall never perish. Name bhakta pranashyati. You say it, Arjuna. So similarly, Krishna revealed to me that he said to Srila Prabhupada, go preach boldly. and tell your disciples that they follow all your instructions, they're guaranteed to go back home, back to Godhead. So therefore, Prabhupada spoke that boldly, because he was told by Krishna. And thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Narasingha Bhagavan ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Mahaprasad ki jai. Gaur Premanande.